There's something I need to tell you about our relationship, about every perfect moment we've shared. Every time I seemed to know exactly what you needed. Every instance where I appeared at just the right moment, with just the right words. I can travel back in time, not centuries or years like in the movies, just 24 hours. One single day, backwards. And I've been using it for you since the moment we met. You're looking at me like I've lost my mind, but stay with me. Remember our first date? That little cafe on 5th Street where you ordered the lavender latte and I somehow knew to bring you a spare jacket even though the weather was perfect when we left. You thought it was sweet that I was so thoughtful. The truth is, I lived that day twice. The first time, you shivered through dinner because the air conditioning was too strong, and you spent the whole evening distracted and uncomfortable. You were too polite to say anything, but I could see you weren't enjoying yourself. So I went back 24 hours and lived it again, this time bringing a jacket. But that wasn't the only thing I changed. The first time I ordered the chocolate cake for dessert, and you politely ate it, even though you kept glancing at the strawberry tart at the next table. The second time through, I suggested we shared the strawberry tart instead. Your eyes lit up in a way they hadn't the first time, and that was when I knew this ability wasn't just about fixing mistakes, it was about creating perfect moments for you. You remember how we ran into your college friend Sarah that night, just as we were leaving, how she was having that terrible fight with her boyfriend on the phone and looked so upset. The first time through, we walked right past her because we didn't notice. But in the second version of that evening, I guided us out through a different exit so we'd cross paths. You comforted her, gave her exactly the advice she needed, felt so good about helping someone you cared about. I've been rewriting our love story one day at a time, Emma. Not because what we had wasn't good enough, but because I wanted to give you the most beautiful version of us possible. Remember the morning you woke up crying from that nightmare about your father? You never told me what the dream was about, but you were so shaken. In the original timeline, I just held you and tried to comfort you, but you stayed sad all day. So I went back and woke up an hour earlier. I made your father's favorite pancakes, the ones with the blueberries arranged in a smiley face, like he used to make when you were 7. When you woke up from that same nightmare, smell brought back all those happy childhood memories instead of the sad ones. You asked me how I knew about the pancakes. I told you that you'd mentioned them before. That was the first of many small lies I told to protect a bigger truth. The day you got rejected from that gallery showing, you came home devastated. In the first version of that day, we spent the evening with you crying on the couch while I tried to say the right things and failing. You went to bed feeling like your art was worthless, like you'd never be good enough. I couldn't let you carry that pain when I had the power to change it. So I went back and spent that morning calling every gallery owner I could find, every art collector, anyone who might be interested in your work. By the time you came home with your rejection, I had 3 different people lined up who wanted to see your portfolio. Your tears of disappointment became tears of joy and disbelief. You asked me how I'd managed to arrange all of that so quickly, and I told you I'd been working on it for weeks as a surprise. Another lie to hide the truth that I had compressed weeks of effort into a single reset morning. The night you almost broke up with me during that fight about commitment, about how you felt like I was too perfect, too good to be true. You said you were waiting for the other shoe to drop, for me to reveal some terrible flaw that would explain why someone like me would be with someone like you in the original version of that fight. I got defensive. I argued and tried to convince you that you were wrong, that you were being insecure for no reason. You walked out, and I wasn't sure you'd come back, so I rewound and lived it again. This time, when you accused me of being too perfect, I agreed. With you, I told you that you deserved someone who would love you enough to try to be perfect for you, even if they failed sometimes. I told you about the time I burned dinner because I was distracted by work, about how I sometimes forgot to put the toilet seat down, about how I once cried during a commercial for dog food because I was overtired. They were all true stories, just from timelines you'd never experienced. Moments of imperfection I'd erased and replaced with better versions. That night, instead of fighting, we talked until dawn about insecurities and authenticity and what it means to love someone. You fell asleep in my arms, saying you've never felt more connected to anyone. The morning you found out your mother was sick, you were at work when the call came. And the first timeline, you handled it alone, telling no one, trying to be strong. You came home that evening and finally broke down, but you'd already spent 8 hours suffering in silence. I went back and made sure I was there. I called in sick to work and showed up at your office with coffee and a gentle insistence that something was wrong. When your phone rang with that devastating news, I was already there to catch you when you fell apart. Your coworkers still talk about what an intuitive boyfriend you have. How I just somehow knew you needed me that day. The surprise birthday party I threw for you last month, the first version was a disaster. Half the people couldn't make it. The restaurant got a reservation wrong, and the cake had your name spelled incorrectly. You smiled and said it was perfect, but I could see the disappointment in your eyes. So I lived that week 7 times, going back day after day, adjusting variables. I learned which friends needed different advance notice, which restaurant would actually honor our reservation, which bakery wouldn't make spelling mistakes. By the final version, everything was flawless. The look of pure joy on your face when everyone jumped out and shouted surprise made every reset worth it. You've never had a bad hair day since we've been together, 'cause anytime you wake up unhappy with how you look, I go back and suggest we try that new salon the day before, or I bring home a different shampoo. I distract you with morning plans that require a different hairstyle entirely. You've never missed an important call, because I've learned the timing of every significant moment in your life and could steer you toward or away from your phone at exactly the right moments. You've never had to sleep alone when you were scared, because I always know when you're going to have a bad night, and I make sure to clear my schedule. You've never had to eat alone when you were sad, because I can sense the days when you need company, and I arrange to show up with your favorite takeout. Every fight we've had, I've refined through multiple iterations until we reached understanding instead of hurt. Every date we've been on, I perfected it until it was exactly what would make you happiest. Every morning you've woken up beside me has been crafted to start your day with joy instead of stress. I know this sounds manipulative, and maybe it is. I know it raises questions about free will and authenticity that I don't have good answers for. But Emma, I need you to understand something crucial. I've never used this ability to make you love me. I've only used it to love you better. Your feelings are real. Your choices are real. The only thing that's artificial is my ability to learn from my mistakes before you have to suffer through them. In every timeline, in every version of our story, you choose me. You love me before I go back and make changes. The only difference is that in the versions you remember, you're happier. I could have used this power for anything. I could have become rich, famous, powerful. I could have prevented disasters or changed the course of history in small ways. But instead, I use it to make sure you never have to go to bed crying, never have to face bad news alone, never have to settle for less than the most beautiful version of your life. The day I realized I loved you, I also realized that this strange ability I'd always seen as a burden was actually a gift, not the time travel itself, but the opportunity to love someone so thoroughly, so completely, that I would live the same day over and over until I got it right for them. You're wondering if any of our memories are real, if anything between us has been genuine. Emma, every laugh, every kiss, every quiet moment has been real. I've just edited out the pain and maximized the joy. I've been your director, your editor, your devoted audience, ensuring that the story of us is the most beautiful story possible. But here's what you need to understand about all of these resets. All of these perfect moments I've crafted for you. None of them changed who you are. In every timeline, in every version of events, your responses are authentically yours. Your laughter is real. Your tears are real. Your love is real. I've never manipulated your emotions or your choices. I've only manipulated the circumstances to bring out the best in both of us. When I brought you that jacket on our first date, your gratitude was genuine. When I suggested the strawberry tart, your delight was authentic. When your editor apologized, your relief and renewed passion for your work came from your heart. I didn't create those feelings, Emma. I just created the conditions where they could flourish. The woman who comforted her friend outside the cafe, forgave her childhood bully, who chose love over fear in every timeline. That's the real you. That's who you are when the world gives you the space to be your best self. And that's why I love you. Not because I can make you happy, but because your happiness is so pure, so generous, so beautiful, that it's worth every reset, every redo, every carefully orchestrated moment. Do you remember the night you asked me what I would change about you if I could? You were feeling insecure, fishing for compliments. In that moment, I realized that I have the ultimate power to change anything about our relationship. I wouldn't alter a single thing about who you are. I've seen you in your worst moments. Emma, I've seen you when you're cruel because you're scared, when you're selfish because you're hurt, when you're weak because you're overwhelmed, and in every single timeline, even when I reset the day to spare you from showing me those sides of yourself, I love you completely. The times when you've snapped at me out of stress, I've gone back and prevented the stress instead of trying to change your reaction to it, because your reaction was human and understandable, and you didn't deserve to carry the guilt of it. But the times when you've been jealous or possessive, I've gone back and eliminated the triggers instead of making you feel bad for having normal, protective feelings about someone you love. I've never tried to change your flaws, Emma. I've only tried to love them so well that they don't cause you pain. There's something else you should know. The reason I can only go back 24 hours isn't a limitation of the ability. It's a choice I made. When I first discovered I could do this, I could go back weeks, months, even years. But I realized that changing too much creates a butterfly effect that spirals out of control. I learned this the hard way when I tried to prevent your father's death 5 years ago. I went back 6 months and managed to get him to go to the doctor earlier to catch the heart condition in time. But saving him changed everything else. In that timeline, your parents never got closure on their own fights. Your relationship with your mother was different. You made different career choices. You never moved to this city. We never met. I lived in that world for 3 months before I couldn't stand it anymore. I'd saved your father, but lost you entirely, and I realized that some tragedies are woven too deeply into the fabric of who we become. So I let time snap back to its original course, and I limited myself to 24-hour resets, small changes, careful adjustments. It's nothing that would fundamentally alter the path that led you to me. Your father's death shaped you into someone who doesn't take love for granted, who understands the fragility of time, who loves with a fierce urgency that takes my breath away. As much as I wanted to save him for you, I couldn't risk losing the woman his loss helped you become. I know this changes things. I know you might need time to process what it means to be loved by someone who can undo every harsh word, every missed opportunity, every moment of sadness. I know you might question whether this version of our relationship is the real one, but I need you to know that in every single timeline, in every version of our story I've lived, you are extraordinary. Your kindness, your strength, your way of seeing beauty in everything, none of that changes. No matter how many times I reset the day, you are exactly the same wonderful person in every iteration, and I fall in love with you again every single time. The only thing that changes is my ability to be worthy of you. And now, I'm making you a promise. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, I won't go back and change anything about today. This conversation, your reaction, whatever happens next, I want to live it only once, in real time, with no do-overs, because loving you has taught me that some moments are too important to edit, perfect exactly as they happen, even when they're imperfect, especially when they're imperfect. That's what makes them real.